May I ask you a question, Anna?
Hey, Larry. Wow, he just came out of nowhere.
I'm just going to dive right into it. Yeah.
Yeah, ask
This is all
me. What's
about
up?
time, so I'm going to be productive and efficient. uh, do you feel guilty about taking some time today to record this podcast episode?
Guilty. Okay, let me tell you something. I live in a tropical country, so
Oh,
a lot of people just automatically assume I am just drinking margaritas and having margarita breaks every 2
on the
minutes.
beach. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, on the beach because it's tropical and all that. But I literally just went to the doctor the other day, and as she's like reading the results, she's like, "You're low on vitamin D." And I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh yeah." And this is as the sun in the background is beaming so bright into her brown eyes that she's squinting as she's reading this results. And she
yeah.
looked at me and she was like, "How is that even possible?"
How
And
is
I'm
that
like,
possible? Yeah.
"Because I never leave the house to see said
You're
sun."
under
Like, you know
fluorescent
what I
lights.
mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a
No. Yeah.
vitamin
Me
D deficiency in a tropical country. So tell me more about taking breaks, Larry.
Ironically, I have a vitamin D deficiency too.
But you're in Northern California, so where
Yeah,
the
I'm in Northern
sun.
California. It's like Scandinavia. Yeah, it's actually literally snowing right now if I look out the window. Yeah,
Oh, it's so
there's
hot.
snow.
It's so ridiculous how hot it is. Trying to like, because you told me we're going to do this on video, so I went into my closet looking for a video appropriate, like professional shirt, and I found like a nice little polo one. Because I don't know
There
what
you go.
happened to all my professional clothes. I think I just threw them out during the pandemic. So
Oh,
it's
same
like,
problem. Yeah,
so it's all professional at top, but it's
yeah.
like literally board shorts at the bottom right now because I could not be bothered. It feels like
I
it
do that
genuinely
too.
feels
I do
like
that too. Yeah, not
a
board
war
shorts,
crime right
PJ
now to
pants.
wear
Yeah,
slacks in
yeah,
my own home. So,
yeah. I agree. Yeah, or shoes. Yeah, you shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to do that.
but
So
anyway,
this
why are you asking
episode,
me about breaks?
yeah,
This,
this
this
is why I'm asking
non-existent
this.
thing.
Yeah. So Anna and I are both solopreneurs, and there's something that sometimes happens with solopreneurs, entrepreneurs too, right? Where if you're not being productive 24/7 and hustling and working and landing new clients and networking and doing sales and always working, 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 you start to feel guilty. And you feel guilty about taking time off or taking time away. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We've both felt this, we've both dealt with this, and I feel like we're getting on the other side of it. Hopefully, it's a big part of what
Yeah, the
you
vitamin D
do,
deficiency
right?
says differently.
Hey, I know you've been on the beach. Nice try. Nice try. And I go skiing every Wednesday. So, yeah, at least
Okay.
I fixed that. I did make a big change in my life last year because of this issue.
Oh,
I
really?
really did. Yeah. I talked about it in my newsletter, maybe even before last year. Um, Coming out of the pandemic, because I think during the pandemic, I got into a habit of working 24/7. You're
Yeah.
always home. You can't go out. You couldn't go to any restaurants or bars or anything anymore. So I was just, well, I'm home. I'm working. My office is right here in my house, and it wasn't good. It wasn't healthy. So I started adopting some habits, and I've talked about this around day theming and time blocking, where
Mhm.
to be efficient and productive, I kind of dedicate certain days to certain activities. So, like Monday's my community meeting, Tuesdays, I do writing and podcasting. Wednesday, I go hiking or skiing. I take the whole day off work. I don't do any work whatsoever. I force myself not to even open my laptop. And then I do client meetings Thursday, Friday, right? So I started doing
Yeah.
that, and I started making time to actually be outside and get some vitamin D.
Yeah.
And it's made a huge difference. It's made a huge difference in my life, and then the guilt has vanished too, and I have a lot of thoughts on that too, but I don't know. What have you done?
Uh,
You're like, "I'm still deficient in vitamin D." How are you
I like
dealing
how
with
you're
do you even
phrasing
have
this.
guilt, Anna? Anna may not experience guilt.
Oh, I coming from a very high productive Asian family,
Okay,
I don't
okay,
even know where to begin with the guilt and the shame.
there we go. Okay, seems so good.
Oh, yeah. So it's funny because in Costa Rica, we have a saying called pura vida, which means pure life, and
Right.
everybody says it. And we use it as like, as a thank you, as a question, as a how are you? Like it's literally a filler word for everything. And my friends, because of this environment, my friends definitely helped me get out of this grind
Good.
thing,
Good.
but also being type A personality, I get very frustrated by the laid backness of every single person in my life. So,
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can
because I'm like,
imagine.
you guys, we can't be like drinking margaritas 24/7. We got to do stuff. Let's do things. Like, I'm always like that person.
Oh, so you're that one. It's like, let's go do something. Yeah.
Like, I can't be sitting on the couch right now looking at our phones. Like, let's, like, I don't know, go somewhere or do something. I don't know.
Sure.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I get that.
it's definitely a love-hate relationship. I'm not on like the other side of it because I am growing a new business. I think if I'm
Mhm.
in year 3 of the business, it's a lot more chill. I've
Good.
had work-life balance in the past, because things are more stable, right? And I think we all have the ebbs and flows of
Mhm.
freelance solopreneurship. It, like you said, during the pandemic, you were working 24/7, but I was too, and it wasn't necessarily because um, everything was closed. It's just that there was so much opportunity for us people
Mm,
online
sure.
that we
Yeah.
wanted to capitalize on that, and I think it was very beneficial to doing that, despite maybe the mental health sacrifice. So it as you get more, I think, into this line of work, you kind of recognize when you can put your gas off the brake, or like put your foot off the
Sure,
brake, or
sure.
whatever the
Yeah.
analogy is. Uh,
Take your foot off the gas.
yeah, like I'm gonna put
Don't
some
drive my
brakes down.
speed.
um, but during the first year of freelancing or even just starting your business, like vacation, since you don't get paid for vacation or holiday, it rest feels very risky. Rest,
Sure.
you're
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
punished for rest, right? Um, and also any kind of thought that the moment I'm not available, I'll lose the clients, or I'm not getting clients, so I
Mhm.
gotta grind. Even when you're in that year one, just even taking a day, one day off is very beneficial. But it can be hard, so I know you have systems in place to go
Yeah.
through that. So I mean, the first one is like that fear of taking a break, right? Like that
Mhm.
emotionalness to it, where it's risky to take a break. How would you, I guess, address that?
Yeah, I'd say when I created my first business, I was very much selling my time for money.
Yeah.
And so I think that's when I got into that habit of if I'm not doing something that's billable hours, it's wasted time. And I'm not making money, and who knows when the next client's gonna come through. And I wasn't doing a lot of marketing. I wasn't doing any content marketing. Had no systems in place. It was kinda seat of my pants,
Hmm.
just constantly kind of a feast or famine kinda thing. So I think I learned from that, that I structured my business differently this time. And I realized that you don't wanna get into that trap of selling your time for money. You
Yeah.
wanna sell more of your wisdom, things you know. You wanna set up things that are, like, on retainer, and there's another good example of making sure you don't feel like you're doing feast or famine. And the biggest change I think I made was I put systems in place that are always kinda doing the marketing for me.
Yeah.
So, like, this podcast is a good example. I write newsletters. I've been writing for 8 years or more, and I get referrals and business from stuff I wrote and published 8 years ago that I haven't touched in 8 years. So
Yeah.
it's doing the sales for me, and I think that helped. I realized when I'm not working, quote, I'm out hiking or skiing or whatever I'm doing, everything I've written, literally thousands of articles, they're doing the work for me.
Hmm.
People are reading them, they're contacting me, they're signing up for stuff. And I put systems in place so that my clients have stuff to work on when I'm not literally holding their hand or talking to them.
Yeah.
So I have homework and stuff they're working on, and it's like, okay, work through that, set up a call, and it's an automated system too. You don't have to call me to set up a call. You go through my
Yeah.
scheduler. They book a call and then we talk about the homework. But in the meantime, they're working on their own. They don't need me actively doing that. So I think the systems, the content marketing, all of that gave me peace of mind that there is stuff still working for me when I'm not working, when I'm sleeping, and it feels a lot better. I feel like I can take breaks now.
Yeah, I relate a lot to this. I'm on my third career iteration, you know, the first being a programmer, and then I burned out from that. And then I did content marketing for the tech space. So I was still kind of like adjacent to the tech space. And now I'm helping people detach from work, from burnout, because after the pandemic, I just saw such an influx of people really struggling with
Oh,
not
yeah.
knowing how to stop, right? Um, and during that time, like, as you said, you know, I have not been a programmer in over, I don't know, 10 plus years, and I still get requests every now and again to do a website or to do this. And it's kind of frustrating. And you're like, I haven't done this in like forever. Like, how do you still remember?
Right. How did you find me? Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it does kind of sneak up on you like that. And since the point being is like, since this is on my third iteration, I kind of already know the way it works, right? Like I no longer have to spend 14 hours kind of grinding and hustling because I already know what moves the needle and what works. Whereas
Mhm.
before, you know, throwing things at the wall, trying to figure out what sticks, like it's such a learning curve during the first year of business. And even though this is my third business, I've been in it for almost 15 plus years now, that it doesn't feel like a whole, like the world is on your shoulders, right? So I think
Right.
we
Yeah.
should acknowledge a little bit of like experience here of like knowing what works, the stability of that, and just
Yeah.
keeping on, right? And I know that, especially in my case, like the feeling of feeling lazy when you're not kind of working on the business really affects you too, because maybe your self-worth is based on like how much productivity you are in, or you have like social media coming at, and you have like some of these hustle bros on social media on like how much deals they make. And if you're super
Yeah,
if
those
you
guys.
attract clients through social media, it's almost impossible not to see some of these braggy posts, right? So it makes it even worse when you're feeling kind of exhausted and tapped out, but you also feel like, oh, some Romanian kid, you know, is outworking me right now. I need to keep going, right? So, which is something a friend of
Yeah.
mine who works 14 hours has said to me. It's like, if I take a break, some guy in like Bangladesh is gonna outbid me, or he's gonna do this or gonna do that. And that's true. Like there are so many like being
Mhm.
online, there's are so many people who will work harder, faster for free or whatever, and might not produce the best quality, but you have to compete.
Yeah.
So it's just so much, I don't know, busyness and mental drain on not hustling for your clients, right?
Yeah. That is, that's a trap, and it's a bit of a race to the bottom that I think people get into, of competing based on price, based on speed, based on whatever. That if you are performing and behaving like a commodity that can compete with a bunch of other people, you are gonna feel that. And one
Yeah.
of the things I think you have to do is figure out, well, what makes me unique and different, that there is no other me. There is no other solution that is exactly me. And that means, yeah, I may not be right for some people, but I'm right for others that don't want to work with someone else. And it doesn't
Mhm.
matter if I'm off for the weekend, they can't reach me. They're going to wait. They're not going to work with some other person simply because I'm off for 2 days, because I am different. I am unique. And that is one of the most important things I think every business can do. No business should get into a commoditization war where the only thing that's better about us is we're cheaper, we're faster. It's like someone else will be cheaper and faster than you someday. And that is
Well,
tiring.
yeah, I mean, there was a Upwork survey in 2024, so just last year, that said that 71% of employees, so this is employees, they did interview some freelancers, but they didn't make the distinction in the survey, were feeling burned out. And
Oh,
about
I bet.
65% struggle with the increasing demands. And what was even more interesting is that 77% of the burned out people said that AI tools have
Oh,
decreased
yeah.
their productivity and added more workload in at least one way. So I
Wow.
can only imagine this is applying to freelancers too, who are maybe
Sure.
even competing against AI bots, you know, and they're also feeling the pressure of how can I compete with an obvious robotic thing that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
going to charge $0 for what I do, right?
Yeah, OpenAI just announced that they're trying to expand into creative writing.
Yep.
So it's like, it's gonna have creativity. And that's the thing is
Yeah.
that if you're trying to compete just on, like, word count and cranking stuff out, especially with AI, you are not gonna win that war as a human being. And this gets back to some stuff you've talked about in the past where it's around storytelling,
Mm,
where I'm gonna talk about and share my life, the experiences I've had that no one else has had, no AI has had, and if you try to fake it, it's gonna come across as non-genuine because it's not. It's me, I'm a human being who's done this and experienced this, and I have these stories to share, and these anecdotes and lessons and the wisdom from that, and that is the thing you gotta tap into is, like, what is it that makes you, you? What do you have that no one else has? And lean into that, and I know in the beginning of your career, you're not there, right? It's a
yeah.
lot of commodity stuff, just cranking out design work and doing this and that, and that's I was like that as an entry level designer, but then later, what made me valuable was how I think, not that I could crank out 20 mock-ups in an hour,
Yeah.
and that's what helped my career.
Yeah, that's definitely the flip between employee mindset to expert mindset, right? Or consultant mindset. It's the ability to provide unique value, right? And not be replaced
Yeah,
by somebody, an intern, for example, who doesn't have those experiences.
yeah, absolutely, and I think what you'll start to realize that when you do knowledge work, like we're talking about a lot of knowledge work, where it's like you're coding, you're writing, you're consulting, you're coaching, you're doing whatever, you're doing design work. Anybody who's in this field that does knowledge work knows how much creativity plays into that. And what I've discovered is that if I just sit at my desk and I stare at the wall and I do this for 12 hours straight, my creativity just goes through the floor. It's horrible. I go out and I go for a 2-hour walk. I have so many new ideas. I come back with a whole bunch of ideas. So that time is not wasted. The time's
Yeah.
not wasted. You feel like, oh, I'm wasting time. You're actually recharging your battery. You're getting these creative ideas. You come back and you're even better at what you do. And
Mhm.
that's the hard thing that you have to learn is taking a step away helps you come back and take more steps forward than you would if you just sat in your chair and tried to crank through stuff.
Yeah, and being off the phone, like, I think some of my most productive thoughts are in the shower, and it's quite frustrating because I don't have anything
Yeah.
to write
Yeah.
on. And so I'm like, "Oh, I gotta
Yeah.
remember this, I gotta remember this, I gotta remember this." But it's true. I mean, I was oh, headphone just fell out.
And we have video
See,
now, so you can see
we
that.
run a professional establishment here, people.
We didn't used to share video before, but now you're gonna see all this.
What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, I
You were talking
was,
about showering for some reason, I don't know. Yeah.
no, it's just hot here, Larry. It's just hot, okay? Um, seriously, it's like 35, I feel like it's 35 degrees Celsius or whatever, which is, I
Celsius,
don't know,
yeah.
like 250
200
Fahrenheit
Fahr
and in, like, freedom
That sounds
miles. I
about
don't know.
right. I won't pull out my calculator, but yeah, that must be about
It's
right.
an oven. But no, the other day I was at a co-working spot, and it's just fascinating watching people, not disconnect during meetings. Like, it's even when they're on the meeting, they're looking at their phone on Instagram and, like, or they're like
Yeah.
switching in between Slack and email and answering, and they've got like 3 screens, some of them, and like all of this is just ways to zap your productivity, and it makes you feel
Oh,
even
yeah.
more tired at the end of the day, where you're just not able to think creatively, and all you end up doing at the end is just putting out fires instead of trying to
Mhm.
be
Yeah.
proactive in the problem, yeah, solving piece of it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'll plug my journal because that's what I am. I'm a hustler, man. I'm a hustler. So I put together a journal for solopreneurs, and it's paper, and that's intentional. And I tell
Yeah.
people, do it first thing in the morning. Do not, this is gonna be hard. It's gonna be, "Oh, it's impossible. I can't do this." Don't pick up your phone. Sit with whatever your morning drink is. I don't care if it's, if Monster or coffee or tea. Sit down, Write in your journal for 30 minutes as many wild and creative ideas as you can. Write your top 3 tasks for the day. And I say top 3 because we can't get 30 things done in a day and not do them well. And just capture notes before you get interrupted, before your creativity gets taken away, before you feel angry about the news, before you read
Yeah.
that email from your boss or your client that makes you, lose every creative bone in your body. Sit, journal, write a bunch of ideas, get it all out, close it, and then check your email, check your messages, and get engaged for the day. But it really does help.
Yeah, and it does take a little bit of a routine or a discipline to incorporate that. Um, there was a 2022 survey by Reclaim. So this was, 3 years ago by this point, but it said
Mhm.
that 64% of freelancers experience burnout from lack of work-life balance, um, or, just insufficient time off.
True.
And
Yeah.
about 78% of those people said that work-life balance would alleviate their burnout. So it's like they
Yeah.
know the
Yeah.
solution, but yet this is still a very fundamental problem because it's it's
Right.
it's so
Yeah.
much more different to say, "Oh, let's go eat healthy," and then actually eat healthy, right? It's the
Right.
reality
Yeah.
versus the dream are two very uh, distinct and almost there's a big disconnect there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even when I go out and hang out with some of my friends, like, okay, we're going to spend quality time together, and yet everybody in our group is on the phone, and I'm like, okay, why did I even at
Yeah.
that point, like, how do you even police the group friend group? It's like, guys, stop looking at your phone. Then you sound like a mom, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You're the parent.
So
Put your phone
it's
away.
it's it's even harder when you are surrounded in a culture where the phone is coming with you to the bathroom, where the phone is like on you at all times because some kid might be calling you for an emergency on like where the
Mm.
donuts are in the fridge or whatever it is. Like,
Right. Big one. Big emergency.
so it's
Oh,
so much harder to practice that in theory or in real life, but it works so much better in your favor, like Larry said, just by journaling for 20 minutes, um,
yeah. I
than
dare you to
than being
try
on the
it. I
phone.
dare you to try it. I think you'll be surprised at how good it feels. And I'm not saying put your phone away all day long. Obviously, I'm on my phone, I'm on my laptop, but I need those moments where I'm not on my phone, and doing that when I go skiing, I can't be on my phone. When I'm hiking, I'm not on my phone. We like to do things where it's like if you're on your phone, you're gonna fall and die. So it's like pretty easy to make that choice. It's like, do you want to die or do you want to enjoy this hike?
Yeah, we have a lot of
Okay.
venomous and poisonous things in the
Yeah, like you
country.
do.
Oh, did I
Better
tell
watch
you
where
the
you're
other
stepping.
day? Oh, yeah, you saw it, didn't you? Like, the other day, I got up from my computer desk and I stepped on a scorpion and it
Oh,
bit me.
so
So
yes,
literally there's danger
if you're
everywhere.
an American, you want to move to Costa Rica, look what you could enjoy. Look what you could look forward to.
I wanted to amputate my foot, so yeah, it felt great.
So that's, yeah, good reason not to look at your phone. Like,
Yeah.
watch where you're walking, right? Super important. No, I think what Ann is alluding to is the habits. So there's habit formation, there's habit breaking, and it takes a lot of work. There's a lot of good stuff by James Clear on this. You can find it. I'm not
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
repeat all of it, but there's a lot of things that you can do to set up your environment to facilitate the good habits and to make the bad habits hard. And part of that is put your phone away. Like, don't have it in your lap where you can see it flashing with a notification. So put your phone away. I have my journaling notebook right on the table where I drink my coffee. And so I just have to set down my coffee. I sit in the chair and I start journaling. It's right there. I don't have to go search for it or find it. So there's a lot of things that you can do to facilitate the good habits. And then there's stuff that, if it's a bad habit and you want to kind of break it, create friction. He talks about friction. So set up friction so it's just a little bit harder to do that, a little bit harder to get to your phone, a little bit
Yeah.
harder to eat all those cookies. Whatever it is you're trying not to do, make it a little bit harder.
Yeah, and, something about the productivity trap and, like, this guilt that you might feel when you have to take time off is it's almost, something called Parkinson's law, which is the
Oh, yeah.
brain, the body will find its way to to expand the
It
time you
does.
give
Yeah.
it. So if you think you have, 2 weeks to fulfill on that project, you're gonna take all 2 weeks to fulfill on
That's
that
right.
project.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you take, if you think you only have 24 hours to fulfill on that project, you'll find a way to fulfill that project. So, um, when you have the phone, it's literally zapping all that energy,
Mhm.
um, right there and there. It will fill the time for you,
It
So
will. Yeah.
if you can brick it or turn off notifications or set a timer, iPhone has a screen time feature where you can like block certain things.
Yeah, you
Um,
should look. I dare you all to look at how much time you're spending on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook,
yeah,
whatever it is your addiction is. I looked at it. That's why I deleted Instagram, Facebook,
yeah,
TikTok. They're off my phone, gone.
yeah.
And
I've
now I'm like,
deleted
"Wow, I have a lot of time on my hands. What am I gonna do?" It's like, "Well, I could go work out. I could go get a coffee. I could
do
work
a
on this book
TikTok
I'm
dance,
writing.
Larry.
I could do a TikTok dance and record it for no one. I can do all those things." It's scary. Take a look at it, audit yourself. I felt sick. I was, like, spending 15 hours a week on Instagram and getting nothing back from that. Like,
Yeah,
what's the point? Why am I doing that? So I deleted it. I got rid of it.
yeah. I have another like study in 2021. Leapers Co. did a mental health and self employment study on kind of like to get a benchmark on people's mental well being, and 23% of the self employed individuals that they interviewed took less than 1 week of time off last year,
Oh,
and
jeez.
then only a third managed to take more than 20 days off in the last 12 months. So
Wow.
it's a problem
That's
to
bad. That's bad. Yeah.
it's a problem. This is not a unique problem that you might be experiencing as a new or seasoned freelancer. If so few people are actually taking breaks, I don't know how you can really show up for not just work but for family or for life. Like it becomes
Mhm.
very um, work, sleep, wake up, right? And
Yeah,
wasn't
it's
the
not
point
good.
of escaping the nine
Yeah,
to five
exactly.
bullshit is
Yeah.
so that we can take margarita breaks at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon,
Well, this is the biggest thing for those of you that have just recently made the shift or you're thinking about making a shift. What you're gonna discover, because I was an employee for 20 years or whatever it was, you don't need all that time. Like, we would fill the day with meetings and pointless meetings, and stuff would fill the time that we gave it because 'cause you're like, "I gotta be here at least 8 hours." It was more like 10 or 12. And then when you work for yourself, you initially think you need to do the same thing. You're like, "Oh, I need to spend 8 hours in my office working." It's like, "Why?" You don't have to have that pointless meeting. You don't need to collaborate with that other team that's always blocking you on stuff. You don't need to work on that project that doesn't matter. And it was talking about the pointless stuff. There's a lot of
Parkinson's law.
spinning the wheels that people do. Like, they'll do all this stuff and kind of play with all the toys and shiny objects. It's a lot of busy work, like, "Oh, I worked 8 hours." Like, what happened? Did you get a sale from that? Did you build a course? Did you write an article that's gonna generate sales for you for 8 years from now on? Like, I
Mhm.
spent 20 minutes writing an article that sent me sales for 8 years. It only took 20 minutes. You don't
Yeah.
need to spend 8 hours. So that's a big kinda thing you need to shake off in terms of the guilt. No one has said that you need to work 8-hour days as a solopreneur. You don't. I just saw one of my
Yeah.
friends who does this. She works 10 hours a week. That's it.
Mhm.
And she's
Yeah.
like, "I'm happy. That's it. 10 hours a week is enough."
Yeah. Yeah, and like multiple studies have shown over the years, I think the initial one was from Stanford University that said that you get diminishing returns when you work more than 50 hours a week.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
True.
for, the 9 to 5er. So you can only imagine what effects it will have for freelancers who actually get paid for their uh, knowledge or their expertise versus their
Right.
time,
Yeah.
which is what Larry suggested earlier, where you have to kind of get out of that like time mindset and go into knowledge
Mhm.
mindset from that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots of ways to do that. I mean, that's probably a whole nother episode to talk about how to set up those kind of systems that can sell for you when you're sleeping and turn your knowledge into a course or a book or whatever, a software package, which a friend of mine did, and now he makes money while he's sleeping. He's like, "This is great. Should have done this a long time ago." But there are a lot of ways to do that. And I think that is the
Yeah.
secret is filling your pipeline enough and having enough automated systems set up that it's not feast or famine. That there
Mhm.
is always
Exactly.
a little bit of deal flow coming in. Stuff's coming into your bank account every day. You're like, "Oh, cool. That article I wrote." I have all these articles that generate revenue, and I see money every day showing up in my bank account from that. Did it once, get paid forever. It's like it makes me take breaks and sleep at night. I'm like, "Okay, I don't have to have my
Yeah.
hand on the wheel all day long."
And when you come from corporate or, any kind of traditional work model, it almost seems like a scam, you know? It's like I can
Yeah,
sleep and
yeah.
and get
I
paid.
take a break. Yeah.
So again, back to that mindset shift of like you don't need to do feast and famine if you just like slow and steady wins the race. You don't have to clock in, clock
Mhm.
out. You just have to focus on, you know, good work and then go from there, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, I mean, there's a lot that I know Anna does and I do with coaching and helping people, and part of it is looking at what you're doing and trying to figure out how can you best make use of your time to be productive when you should be and take breaks when you need to and you should. How can you automate stuff, set up processes, and use tools that help with a lot of this that they can take care of sales while you're sleeping, that you can automate a bunch of that stuff, how to transform stuff that you are doing hands on into something that could be created as a course or a book or whatever it might be and generate
Mhm.
revenue from it so that you can do what the whole point of this was get your life
Yeah.
back. Get your life back.
Yeah. Yeah, and,
Yeah.
just another stat I'm just gonna throw out here, 57% of freelancers from that same, 2020 Reclaim survey said that they're burnt out from the lack of time for focused work. So,
Oh,
again,
sure. Yeah.
this is like bringing the point home of taking your phone away, doing these things. Because, like, in that same survey, 64% of those 57 said that if they had more time for focused work, they wouldn't be as burned out, which is almost like a catch 22, right? Uh,
Right.
if I
Yeah.
could only focus on the real thing and not be putting out these fires, like, um,
That
and we can
reminds me
talk.
of a great book.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
as you're talking about this, Cal Newport. So
Oh,
if you
yes,
haven't
he's
read
great.
Deep Work by Cal Newport, it's exactly this issue. It's
Yeah.
exactly this issue.
He released a new book, so Deep Work, and then he released a new book called Slow Productivity, which is basically
Mhm.
everything
Yeah.
I've been talking about since like the pandemic, you know?
Yeah.
So it's perfect resources for that. And I think, to kind of wrap this up in a bow about I've noticed that with some of my clients, like the male and female dynamics are quite different when it comes
Sure.
to taking time off. Like when I have more like women clients, they all of them understand the importance of self-care, right? Self-care is great, but then their biggest like objection is that I don't have time for it
Right.
or I have the needs of
Yeah.
the family. There's just they just don't see a world where they could actually take time for self-care, right? And then, that's the point of working with me. We help detach from work, we help bring in
Mhm.
processes and yada yada, right? But what I tell when I say self-care to a man, his face scrunches up like he just
Yeah.
opened up a can of pickled feet. Like I swear, it's just so
They don't get
not
it. Yeah. Yeah.
not yeah, so I have to it's like a totally different conversation because I've noticed with, male clients is that they love to use, like, punishing language, like,
They do.
"I don't
I'm
I
so
don't
lazy.
deserve." Yeah, "I'm lazy, I don't deserve a break," like, I'll rest
Yeah.
when, like, I make 1,000,000, like, there's these, like, such intense words, so telling them to take a self-care day it's like the do it's so impossible, so I have to, like, use different language and use, like, different approaches and methods, um, where it's like, "Okay, we need to understand that, like, again, we've talked about it this whole podcast of like the best why, but you can't fight logic with this a very emotional
Yeah.
survival response. So men almost take a little bit of warming up to when it comes to this thought of like self-care or taking a break or not looking at their phone because there might be a sale or somebody might be texting them that might want their service. You know, it's just so much more complex for, I think, some of my male clients to really take a
Yeah.
vacation, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I was at eBay, I talked about this before. I didn't take a vacation for 4 years,
Yeah.
and
Did you
that's
use punishing
ridiculous.
language, Larry?
Probably, I probably did. It was I can't imagine. I probably whipped myself and, "Oh, once I get to VP, I can take a break." You know, what the thing is you'll never reach a level where you feel like you've made it.
Yeah.
Even billionaires are like, "I'm not a multi-billionaire. I'm not a trillionaire." So
Yep.
you will die if you don't take care of yourself, and it's funny you mentioned self-care. I just saw an article come through where the gist of it was self-care is sabotaging you, and it was written by a guy, and I'm
Oh,
like,
see?
"What?" I'm like, "What is he talking about?" And his interpretation of self-care was eating junk food, drinking beer, watching Netflix. Is like, that's not self-care. That's not how I think of self-care, and I
Yeah.
don't think it's how you think of self-care. When I go skiing, that's self-care. When I lift weights, that's self-care. When I take a hike and brainstorm new ideas for my business, that's self-care. Because it's good for me, it's good for my mind, it's good for my body. And it's actually good for my business. So I have a very different definition of self-care than I think maybe guys do when they think it's just eating junk food and drinking beer. I don't know.
Yeah, some of my male clients think self-care is like going to the gym to punish themselves again, like and
Oh,
so many of them again, it's like, "Oh, I only lift weights until I feel sore and I can't move." And I'm like, "That is not you guy, like we need to we need to work through this a little bit." But
yeah.
the World Health Organization, which is WHO, and I think your government has decided that's like fake news now, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah, we're probably gonna
estimated
abolish it, I'm sure.
well, the WHO organization estimated that over 745,000 people died from stroke and heart disease in
Oh, yeah.
2016 due to working long hours. Long hours. It was
Totally,
credited to
totally.
long working
Yeah,
hours, right? And like how many I mean, I know at least my male clients know so many men in their 40s who have died of a heart attack. And like that's how I bring the point home of why it's important. Whenever I tie in like the health aspect, they kind of get a little more chipper
mm, mhm,
with
okay,
it when
yeah,
it comes to the self-care stuff, but it usually has to tie into something like that or somebody close to
yeah,
them passed away from some stress-related heart disease or, you know, whatever it is, and then that's when they kinda take it more seriously, but it's like,
right,
why
yeah.
does somebody have to die in your family for you to be like, "Oh, yeah, I should probably take a vacation?" Like,
Shouldn't reach
let's
that
take a
point.
step
Yeah.
back.
No, it's like, sometimes when I talk with people, and, maybe this resonates with guys, I talk about it in terms of like a vehicle maintenance. I'm like, "So do you only change the oil in your car after the engine breaks down?" They're like, "Are you an idiot?" They're like, "No, I change the oil, like, every 6 months, and, like and then I do this, and I do a transmission flush, and they do all this preventative care and maintenance." And I said, why do you do that?" And they're like, "So it doesn't break down, so it keeps running smoothly, so I don't have a really expensive repair later." And it's like, you're the same. Your
Yeah.
body's a machine. Your brain is it's a machine. It's like even though it's cognitive, there's a wet brain in your skull that's part of this neurochemical machine. So I said, "I
Yeah.
want you to start thinking of yourself like a car, like preventative care and maintenance. You need to
Yeah.
take care of it or it will break down. And get some sleep, have some fun, do some creative brainstorming. It's fun and it's good for you and your business. Like,
Mhm.
it's okay. It's okay to do that.
Yeah.
All
There's
right.
I think
Wow.
you need to untangle some of it. It takes more than one conversation and like more than one routine or process to actually like break some of these very like conditioned mindsets around this for
Yeah.
both men
Yeah.
and women. It's not necessarily either or it's different, but it's definitely not one podcast episode to really like drive
No,
the
no,
point home.
no.
But I'm glad we talked about it today because, you know, even me, when I'm in the middle of building this new business, I still take time to go to the beach, or,
Mhm. Yeah.
I might not do it at once a week like Larry does, because, there's more of a grind, but I do enjoy, taking, like a few days off every like month or so to then like go to Mexico to see my best friend, or, travel a
Nice.
little
Yeah.
bit. So there's a different way to approach it. Taking one day off for some people is just like not possible, but taking 3 days off in a month from now is like much more manageable for some, like taking
Sure.
a long
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
And just bit by bit process eventually gets you to the 1 day off or 2 days off a week, right?
Yeah. Yeah. One thing, it's interesting because you talked about this before. It's like I was getting ready for a trip, and there was a task that normally would take me a day or 2 to get done. I just had 2 hours to get it done because we were gonna fly out the next day. Lo and behold,
Parkinson's law.
I got it all done in 2 hours. I'm like,
See,
"Okay, it doesn't take 2 days. I can get it done in 2
rookie luck.
hours if I really have to get it done in 2 hours." So, test yourself. Do a little reward like Anna was talking about. So, pick a date, set some kinda date in the future and say, "I'm gonna take 2 days off, 3 days off," whatever it might be, a little mini vacation, and figure out the work that you need to get done that would make you feel comfortable to do that,
Yeah.
and get it done and see and pay attention to how quickly you can do it when there's a reward on the other side, because
Yeah.
sometimes you have to do that. Treat yourself. Treat yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think that's good enough for
That's a wrap.
today.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's a
a
good
wrap.
one. Yeah, now we need to take a break for the weekend, right? Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
we are recording this on Friday, so YOLO, my margarita needs to be
Heck yeah.
mixed.
So, if you want to talk with Anna or myself about this, we have show notes. If you go to newsletter.invinciblesolopreneurs.com, there'll be links for Anna's contact information, mine, of course, and you can talk with us. We're happy to have a chat with you about how you can structure things so you can have a sustainable business that lets you have a fun life too. It's important.
Yeah. Detaching from work is just a puzzle piece to the bigger life picture. So,
Absolutely. All right. Take care, everybody.
bye.